This is Marketing Masterminds. Today, I'm joined by Dr. Sam Davis, the SVP and Chief Data Officer at AmeriLife. Welcome, Sam.
Thank you.
It's
Happy
great
to be here.
Great to have you here. Specific to data, when people talk about trust within an organization, one of the first things they look to is the data. They want to see consistency in reporting, and they want to be able to audit. They want to be able to tie it back to some result and draw some inferences and some conclusions about that. At this point in your tenure, and you've been here how long now?
About 9 months.
You've made a lot of progress towards that goal. There's some work to do. You've got a great team supporting you. Can you talk about just at a high level some of the things you're doing right now to get us through that process?
Absolutely. The first step I like to take here is to separate reporting from analytics
Interesting.
and say reporting is our ability to measure and communicate facts.
Mhm.
That could cover financial reporting, operational reporting, any aspect of the business. We need to be able to say, here is factually what is happening and what has happened. That's different from analytics, which is taking that data and saying, we want to make better decisions. And data is sometimes usually helpful there, but it doesn't have the same level of precision, and it's a different skill set to support the best possible decisions from data. And by separating these two, it allows us to focus specifically on how will we measure and have confidence that we've measured correctly these facts. And it's a different conversation than what type of decisions do we make all day, every day at the strategic, tactical, or operational level, and how can data make those decisions better?
I think a lot of people do use data and analysis incorrectly, synonymously. I'd add a third element in there, which is insights, which is tightly related to analysis, but your team is also charged with bringing the insights out of that analysis that are business relevant. So you have to know the data in your chair. You have to analyze that data, which is, another skill set, as we said, but you have to also really know the business in order to get those insights. Can you talk a little bit about that process?
Absolutely. And that's always the hardest part, is that we'll have experts who know how to run the business and experts who know how to manage and organize and glean insights from data, but that needs to be paired and matched in a highly fluent and efficient way. So the approach here is to take a path of data stewardship, which lets us scale. If our data team can only understand the business through meetings, conversations, requirements, we can't scale. We have to extract the information out of the hearts and minds of our business partners and document it in a way such that we can say, although we don't know the business as well as you do, we're able to represent it and architect it in a consistent fashion to then build insights at scale. So we've invested a lot in that data governance side. On the other side, we've invested in saying, what truly are the decisions we need to make? I want to avoid producing interesting data. I don't want interesting. Someone else can go find interesting things. Impact is what our focus is on. Where can we make a better decision by capturing, transforming, manipulating the data in some possible way? That's where our focus is. And that cuts out a lot of the possible work that we could be focused on by saying, what is the impact of this work that we're focused on?
I think a lot of us struggle with that because as stewards of the data and your partner in this process, we're all called upon to draw our own conclusions and to make insights and to look to different metrics. And a lot of times I find myself struggling with what I would call vanity metrics. Those metrics that are real and measurable, but not impactful, right? And those, you can spend a lot of time gathering that, standardizing that, and using that as a way to guide your business. But in the end, are you really moving the needle in an effective way?
You're absolutely right. A great example I've seen of that is, hey, let's go recruit better. Wonderful. Who doesn't want to recruit better?
We all do.
How do we measure better? Because that's the starting point of that conversation. What does better mean? And then we'd work backwards from better to say, oh, here's a process that could be fed data to achieve that better. We need to align on what better is, and that can be tricky for someone who's been doing this 10, 20, 30, 40 years. It's like the story of the two fish swimming around. One says, good morning. The other says, good morning. The water's pretty cold today. And the first one says, what's water? uh, being able to transform someone's experience and knowledge in this space from experts and distill it down into objective criteria is not is not always easy. But that's what we are trying to do. Can we distill this knowledge into a framework where we can say, yeah, up is good, down is bad. This is what we truly want, and understand the levers that drive those outcomes, and then develop the data strategy to support action on those levers.
So I would be remiss if I didn't bring up AI. AI is everywhere right now, but keeping it grounded and practical. One useful way that I've found to think about AI is that it really has two basic use cases. It helps you create something, or it helps you understand something. So a lot of people at AmeriLife are working right now with AI, and we have certain rules in place. How do you balance, adding that real value with the responsibility that may come with, for example, handling sensitive data and the like? It's a tricky spot to be in right now. People are excited about AI. They're using it in a practical way, but there are some guardrails that we need to keep in mind.
AI is incredibly powerful, and this is the worst it will ever be. Right? For the rest of our lives, AI will be more powerful, more fast, do more incredible things.
Hmm.
And that's overwhelming. And the pace of AI improvement is overwhelming. We have to not just accept it, but embrace it. This is where we are. This is the future. And the approach I like to take to eliminate that feeling of overwhelmed, an overwhelmed sensation or a loss of self, is to say, okay, every single AI use case that exists boils down to, what if I had a lot of people who could really, really quickly go do something for me? It all boils down to the same thing.
Hmm.
And so it could be, I want to go on vacation and I want to stay at a hotel, that it's, some distance away from, a great beach, something like that. And I want a direct flight from the nearest airport. You could have asked someone to do that for you.
Could have done it yourself.
Could have done it yourself, but it might take an hour
Hmm.
or 2 hours. Well, that takes 60 seconds now, and less. So I've yet to see a use case that violates that rule of, I could have asked someone to do this, and then they go do it very, very quickly. And so what that means is that when we want to transform the organization, when we want to transform a business process, when we want to go from good to great, the starting point is, well, what would I do if I had a lot of people with some level of skill and knowledge? How would I organize them? What would I ask them to do? And how would I have the actions that they take result in a better decision to yield a better outcome? And that framework actually has nothing to do with data or technology. That first step is not a leap into high tech, complex, data driven anything.
Mm-mm.
It's just a consideration of how, if I have 1,000 interns, how could that help me get through my day and add more value to this organization? After going through that step, the solution in an AI context can become quite clear quite quickly. Um, hey interns, I would like you to go and sit with everyone in the organization, go ask them the top 10 pain points they have, the top 10 opportunities they see for the organization. Go ask 1,000 people that question, compile it, score it, give it back to me, and then go look up, the white papers for all best practices of data strategies and technology strategies, and go, cross-reference the strategies with the opportunities, and then go make a brilliant PowerPoint deck that I can go, give to leadership. And AI might be able to do that in 1 minute,
Hmm.
whereas it would take us, $1 million in a year to go do that tiny.
In the old world, it would have.
So there's nothing stopping us from doing that, and that's a weird sensation. There's no barrier to doing that,
Hmm.
and that is where we are. And so the level of quality when it comes to strategic planning, design work, the expectation is that this is now, orders of magnitude better than it would have been a year or two ago, because in the same amount of time, with the same amount of skill, we can magnify our capabilities so well.
Sam, one of the conversations we had just during our regular one-on-ones had to do with the AI tools that are provided by AmeriLife. Now, we talked briefly about some of the security constraints that you need to be aware of when you're using these tools. You don't want to be putting sensitive or really any company data into one of these public models for various reasons. So AmeriLife has gone out and they've developed internal models that are safe to use. One thing I mentioned when we had that conversation was the switching costs. And what I mean by switching costs is if you're like me or like I'm sure a number of members of our audience, you've put maybe 2 or more years of yourself into these AI models and they've become trained to know you. They know your voice, they know how you like to communicate. They may know some specifics of your life or projects you've been working on that they can pick right up on and give you advice without a lot of background. Talk to me about overcoming the switching costs from that scenario to using a company provided tool. Are there some shortcuts? You've shared with me some that I thought were highly useful that I've put into action myself.
I first want to address a mindset
Hmm.
that I believe is critical that everyone takes on, which is you need to believe that there is a prompt that you could write into this tool that achieves the thing you want. And I don't know if everybody is there yet,
Hmm.
because again, this is pretty powerful technology, feels like science fiction, and yet it's only accelerating. If you go in believing there's something that I can write into this, this tool, and it will do the thing I want, then the question is, well, what would I ask it to do? And what's really interesting is you can actually ask the tool what to ask it. Hey, I'm really worried about switching over from Chat GPT or whatever that's gone to know me for 2 years. And I don't want to lose that context, that knowledge. What can I do? And it will say something along the lines of, great question. Right? You're so smart. And then after that, it will say, okay, well, that memory is, all that awareness of you is stored in, distinct, blocks of memory. Ask it, use this prompt to extract that information, and then use this prompt to load that into a new tool. Um, and that's where this gets really really fascinating, which is that even if you don't know how to solve the problem, if you can just describe it, you can ask AI how to solve the problem and then do the things that it said. But that comes from a mindset of there is a path here, there is a way forward. And that is, you just have to go on every time saying, there's something I can ask this tool that gets me the thing I want. What is this thing I really want? And being able to understand the situation you're in and describe it. Again, just the exponential magnification of one's skill sets is just incredible.
Well, it is a brave new world that is, as you said, accelerating. One takeaway that I'm going to have from this is that AI is as basic and rudimentary as it's ever going to be today. It's only going to become more sophisticated. And even at its point of sophistication now, it may seem overwhelming. That's why we are very grateful to have you as a guide here at AmeriLife for our journey here. Thanks again, Sam.
Thank you. Appreciate it.